Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's first video, doing JMA Friday for today's first video. So as always on a Friday, we're having a detailed look at the weather for the month ahead with the Japanese and CFS V2 models. Later on this afternoon, we'll have your regular week's 10-day video update, which will include all of the usual features. So a couple of videos coming up for you today, and hope you find them all interesting and enjoyable. But the first video up is JMA Friday, so we're going to start off with the Japanese 500 millibar hydraulic flow charts from the North Pole and Arctic view down. So this, of course, is the North Pole of the Northern Hemisphere just here. The latitudes of the Northern Hemisphere are around there. UK and Ireland, and Northern Europe just there. So 500 millibars, 8,000 feet is an area in the absolute high pressure and low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream. Red, yellow and orange extrapolates to above average heights, which is high pressure. Blue to below average heights, which is low pressure. These are broken down into week periods. The first week period will take us from the 18th to the 25th of October. And we can see that the JMA has been quite unsettled in the week ahead, with a trough of below average heights extending across many parts of Western Europe. Above average heights pulled out into the middle of the Atlantic. The flow and the jet is going to be going something a little bit like that. So it looks quite unsettled, and it looks a bit on the cool side as well, I have to say. In the week ahead, it does look as though the trough of low pressure with the jet stream is dipping southwards. So quite cool and quite unsettled. Then we go through into week 2, which is the 25th of October to the 1st of November, and we find above average heights and building in towards the UK from the Atlantic, below average heights pushed up towards Scandinavia. That leaves us on the periphery of pulling in some quite cold air. We're just on the edges of that, but it's more over Scandinavia and northeastern parts of Europe. We're protected from it to some degree by this ridge of high pressure. So settling down to the last week of October. Probably a bit on the cool side as well, though, you have to say. Winds would be coming in at very least from the northwest, I would have thought. And certainly for northeast parts of the country, could actually tap in some of that sort of Arctic air. So a little bit on the cool side, but settling down and turning drier. And then it'll change again for weeks 3 and 4, this taking us from the 1st to the 15th of November. And now we're looking quite unsettled, actually. Below average heights coming back to the west-southwest, above average heights getting squeezed off towards the north of Scandinavia. Jet streams returning as well. So I think that's just turning increasingly unsettled. Remember, it's a 2-weekly anomaly, so it could be transitional. You might still have some higher pressure into the first week of November, for example, and then it finally breaks down and turns very unsettled. Something like that can't be ruled out, but certainly it looks quite unsettled there as we're going into the first half of November. You expect bouts of rain to be pushing in from off the Atlantic, and probably relatively mild too as the winds are swinging into the south. This is a tropical and mid-latitude view. So the British Isles is just here in the top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it. We can't see the Arctic and the North Pole. That's off the chart up here. But of course, we're just having a look at that view down. So we know that in the weekend we've got low pressure extending below average heights, extending through the west of Europe, so above average heights in the middle of the Atlantic. But jet stream probably doing something a little bit like that. So the temperature anomaly in the weekend is close to average, not a particularly big deviation. It's ever so slightly on the milder side of average, but it's not particularly big deviation. And despite that, the trough of low pressure extending through the west of Europe, it looks a little bit drier than average, certainly for England and Wales. It's wetter up to the north. A little bit surprising there, really. I'm not sure quite how that tallies in with the temperature, with the 500 millibar height anomaly, I should say. I would have thought it would be more unsettled than that, but there we go. That's what the model is forecast for weekend. Week 2 has the above average heights building in from the west into the UK. Temperature anomalies remain close to average. And for precipitation, it's driving average as well, with a ridge of high pressure over the top of the country. And then we go through to weeks 3 and 4. Looks like low pressure is coming back in from off the Atlantic. Winds are turning more into a southerly direction. Temperature anomalies are still close to or a little bit above average. It's not a particularly big deviation, but slightly on the milder side of average. And it's turning more unsettled as well, especially so for England and Wales. Rainfall is going above average. So basically, up to the end of October, it looks like we're turning drier and also settling things down. Although the temperature anomaly is close to average, I expect it will be a little bit on the cool side into the first half of November. It gradually gets more unsettled, gradually gets wetter, particularly for England and Wales. And temperatures probably will be going a bit milder then as well. This is how the CFS V2 is looking. So these are 500 millibar height anomalies broken down into week periods again. The first week period takes us from the 18th to the 24th of October. The coming week has above average heights out in the middle of the Atlantic and over across eastern parts of Europe, below average heights up to the north and to the south. It's a rather complicated, messy pattern, but it means that the flow of the jets should be doing something a little bit like that. And so quite a coolish week coming up with winds coming in sort of from a northwesterly type direction. Not overly unsettled though. We are between ridges of high pressure, so you wouldn't expect that to be particularly unsettled. Week 2 is the 25th of October to the 31st, to Halloween. We have above average heights again in the middle of the Atlantic and over the eastern side of Europe, below average heights up towards Greenland, Iceland, and down towards Spain and Portugal. I would have thought the jet stream doing something a bit like that. So, again, it's a rather complicated pattern. Winds coming in sort of from a northwesterly direction, I would have thought, and a reasonable amount of dry weather. Then we're into week 3, which looks like this. It's the 1st to the 7th of November. Then above average heights are extending in from the Atlantic. Lots of dry weather would be expected. That below average heights up towards Greenland. Jets need pushed up to the north. So the model will say it's very mild in this week. It could be, excuse me, it could be cooler under high pressure. We may have frost and fog early and late. And then we go through to week 4, which is the 8th to the 14th of November, with below average heights seemingly returning from the Atlantic, above average heights across northern and eastern parts of Europe. The jet stream looks like it should be coming back, and probably milder southwesterly southerly winds. So just, again, in line with what JMA was showing, gradually getting more unsettled the further into November that we go. Temperature anomalies in the week ahead are very close to average with CFS V2. This will be an anomaly from the 18th to 24th of October. Close to average, really, maybe even a little bit below for Ireland and southern parts of England. A little bit above the Scotland. It's not a particularly big deviation either way. Week 2, which is the 25th to the 31st of October, that one goes a little bit above average. Then into week 3, which again, we've got the high pressure building through the country and through the first week of November. This is the 1st to the 7th of November. It's close to average, a little bit above. I expect that could be a bit cooler under that ridge of high pressure, especially if we're generating frost and fog night and morning. And then week 4, which is the 8th to the 14th of November, that goes more definitively above average, and that is in line with what the model is showing, as low pressure coming back in from the Atlantic and the wind is swinging into the south-southwest. Then we go through to the precipitations. This is week 1 rainfall from the 18th to 24th of October, drier than average in the week ahead. Week 2, which is the 25th to 31st of October, that one's close to average Scotland and Northern Ireland, a little bit drier than average for England and Wales. Week 3, the signal's getting weaker now. This is the 1st, 7th of November, as the ridge builds in across the country. You would expect another pretty dry week, really. And then week 4, this is when we get a definitive breakdown. I think this is the 8th to the 14th of November, and it looks wetter than average, particularly so for more northern parts of the country. So it is a rather mixed bag from JMA Friday this week, but I think what we can say is that there is a trend towards drier conditions through the rest of October and into the beginning of November. Coming week might be a little bit unsettled, but we're gradually trending drier, I think, through the rest of October and into early November. Sometime through the first half of November, difficult to say when this happens. It could be in the first week, could be in the second week, but at some time through the first half of November, it turns more unsettled again. Rain comes back, the Atlantic deluge returns, and it probably goes rather milder then. In this drier slot, late October, early November, that could either be relatively mild or it could be a bit on the cool side. It depends whether the high will be a clear high and will generate cold nights and mornings. If we do, then we could start getting frost and fog. But it turns more definitively mild, wet and unsettled again as we go deeper into the first half of November. That's how it's looking. Excuse me, again, that's how it's looking today. We shall see what it shows again next week. Remember, these long-range models are highly experimental, so they are subject to chopping and changing. It's just a snapshot. What model is showing. It could all look very different next week. We'll be back later on with your week's 10-day video update, so come back for that then. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.